Good morning. We are following some breaking news here off the top of Denver 7 News at 7 a.m. on Local 3. It has been a big mess for the early commute.
Yeah, let's get over to Jason Luber now with a big problem on I-25.
Getting slightly better by this much, maybe, because the southbound side of I-25 is finally open. This is 84th Avenue right there across I-25. The bridge remains closed down. What happened early this morning around 2:30, there was a driver of a tanker truck that flipped over and ran skidded under the bridge. So they've had a hazardous material spill that's been cleaned up and contained, and they are still doing the cleanup right now, trying to get that hauled out of there and open. The southbound side of I-25 was closed down for several hours, and they just reopened it in the last about 10 or 15 minutes. So that's good news. However, everybody's going to be here on these lanes looking at those lanes, so it's going to stay slower than normal. And right now the drive times are pretty ridiculous. So let me show you what's going on. So this is the area right here, 84th Avenue. Northbound remains closed down. You folks can go across 84th to continue north. You can use Washington or Grant Street to get up to the Thornton Parkway and continue. But southbound is open, but about an hour-long delay trying to get through there. It will get slightly better. It's just going to take some time. The other trouble spots are over here in Aurora with a crash on Parker Road trying to go to southbound 225 and a serious crash at Alameda and Dayton. And then we had that train derailment yesterday, Lisa, that is still causing delays with Abilene closed down there at Exposition. And then we have the wet roads and fog to deal with.
Hey, a lot going on the roadways this morning. Skies will clear out this afternoon, but you are going to find some fog and some wet conditions after some overnight rain showers. Most of that heavy rain has moved off to the east, but we're still going to see some low-lying cloud cover and some light showers within some of that here today. Take a look at your dog walking forecast. We're right now in the upper 40s to near 50 degrees. We'll be in the mid to upper 60s, though, with more sunshine between about 4 and 5 o'clock, and that'll be, well, just about 2 hours away from the official start of fall. It starts tonight, the autumnal equinox at 7:03. Feels very fall-like today with these 60s, but things are going to really warm up here over the next few days. We'll take a look at your full weekend forecast on our Super 7 Day coming up.
Also breaking this morning, the light rail train that derailed yesterday is still off the tracks and blocking traffic in Aurora.
Several people were injured, and this happened in an area where a train derailed before, also injuring people. Denver 7's Veronica Acosta is live. Veronica, back then, RTD made some promises. Did that help at all yesterday? What are we seeing here?
First off, that happened back in 2019. So we're talking about 3 years ago. And you mentioned it, same spot as that previous trail derailment. There were a couple of things that RTD did mention. One of those was putting up speed signs. I've seen at least one of those in the area. They also promised to offer better training for their drivers and make sure that they train them when there's some pretty bad weather, like what we saw yesterday, even though that was just rain, whereas in 2019, it was more of a blizzard. But take a look at what's going on here behind me. These crews still out here. We're talking about more than a dozen crew members who've been hard at work. It might be able to notice a little bit. They've made a little bit of headway moving the train, just a tiny bit, but this does definitely look like some hard and tedious work. The hope is that they can get this out of the way and open some of these roads that they've had to close. Now, yesterday, firefighters, paramedics, even members of Aurora's fire rescue technical team, they were called out to help. As you can imagine, it was a Tuesday. There were about 24 people on the train. 3 of them needed to go to the hospital to get checked out a little bit. Back in 2019, things weren't as great. Back then, a woman actually had her foot severed. We know about 5 people needed to go to the hospital at that time then. So I did reach out to RTD this morning, just asking them about current conditions, whether there are some big issues and how they're going to solve that for people who typically ride the R line. They said there is a bus shuttle running right now, and there are some trains that are up in this area. Of course, that's all going to be on our website over at denver7.com. We're in Aurora this morning. I'm Veronica Acosta, Denver 7.
All right. One of several problems today for commuters. Thank you, Veronica. The city of Aurora has narrowed its list of police chief candidates down to 2. They are Scott Ebner, who is currently the deputy superintendent of administration for the New Jersey State Police, and David Franklin, who's the chief of staff in the Albuquerque Police Department. A third finalist withdrew his name yesterday. Next week, Ebner and Franklin will begin a 3-day series of interviews with police, city leaders, and Aurora residents.
Advocates for the homeless are taking aim at Denver city leaders for allowing the unhoused to be harassed, bullied, and even assaulted. Lawyers sent a letter to the mayor and city council this week alleging that dozens of instances where Denver leaders were in violation of a legal agreement for failing to let the unhoused know that they would sweep their camps.
These things are they're not just illegal, but they're intolerable in a humane society. So based on that and this escalation of based on the escalation of the tactics by the city, it was time to say enough is enough.
That same attorney says Denver will face a lawsuit if things don't change. We're talking later in this next half hour, with Denver Mayor Michael Hancock on the response to these allegations and many other issues facing the city right now.
One issue, vehicle thefts in Colorado just keep going up. We told you earlier this month, DIA had the highest motor vehicle theft rate in the state. The National Insurance Crime Bureau says car thefts in Colorado went up more than 32% last year compared to 2020. Catalytic converter thefts and carjackings are also up. So experts say some simple things you need to do. Roll up your windows and lock your doors, of course. Also, consider taking your garage door opener inside your house with you when you park your vehicle. That way, if someone steals your car, they can't get into your house. And make sure the registration that you leave in your glove box is the one without your address on it, so that they can't find your address. For more context, now the vehicles being targeted the most include pickup trucks here in Colorado. Those are big targets. Full-sized Fords and Chevys top the list. You can see GMC and Dodge pickups are also on this list. Honda Civic, Honda Accord, and Hyundai Sonata also targeted in Colorado frequently. And typically thieves are going after slightly older vehicles, 5 to 20 years old.
Times are tough business-wise right now, and Centura Health has had to let go about 350 employees, which is about 1% of its workforce in Colorado and Kansas. Most of the affected employees did not care for patients directly. Some will transition to other jobs. Others will receive severance and help finding a new job. In a statement, Centura says inflation and the possibility of a recession were factors. One good thing stemming from the pandemic is that more medical offices are offering telemedicine, and a new study shows it's pretty accurate. They looked at about 2,400 people who did a telemedicine consultation, followed by an in-person visit for the same problem within 90 days. And the diagnosis in the video matched the in-person diagnosis 87% of the time. A local doctor told us 25 to 30% of his schedule is now video visits.
New starts for medications, to review imaging reports for patients and discuss next steps. They've been very helpful when we're managing patients with chronic behavioral health issues. Managing chronic pain is a very appropriate type of visit for a televisit type of encounter.
Dr. Scott Joy there says it's also good for patients with COVID or the flu because they're not infecting others in a waiting room. But he does say they're not great for acute visits like abdominal pain or ear pain because doctors need to see you to do an in-person exam.
Well, today is the first day of fall. Tonight actually is when it begins. Of course, a lot of us love the cooler weather after a long summer of heat here. We love to see the changing colors. And for many communities, the equinox is really a special symbolic time here at Chimney Rock in southeastern Colorado. There's a special sunrise tour. This actually happened this morning, and visitors got to experience the sunrise from the Chacoan Great House and learn why these events were important to their ancestors. Also in southwestern Colorado, there's a unique phenomenon in Picture Canyon. As the sun rises over the canyon, it shines into Crack Cave, lighting up ancient markings. The marks only light up like this during the equinox.
That's pretty wild. Also, with the start of fall, we've seen reports of beautiful colors out across Colorado right now. This is from our Denver 7 social media pages. The aspens are a beautiful golden color, and this weekend would be great to get up into the high country. We've been combing through our Discover Colorado Through Your Photos Facebook page. Some of the views are stunning out there. We actually spoke with a representative from the Colorado State Forest Service, and she says the rain that we received overnight will not impact the leaves or knock them down.
The trees will appreciate the rains, the roots will appreciate the rains, our waterways will, but the trees have already put all their energy into the leaves in the spring and in the summer. At this point, they're just pulling all the goods out of the leaves, recycling them, so next spring they can put some more leaves on.
a win-win.
Rain is a good thing, yes. Our digital team has put together a complete in-depth look at the changing leaves, including the best hikes and the drives to see them. You can find that on denver7.com.
I'm going to be camping this weekend, hoping to hit some of those colors, Lisa.
Good timing. Did you listen to my forecast? Clearly.
I did, always.
Take a look. Saturday and Sunday, your hiking forecast. We're going to be in the 60s in the Central Mountains. A little breezy Saturday, but skies will clear out. So we are in for some really pretty weather this weekend. If you're heading west, like Nicole, I might just hitch a ride and go with her. You can see some of the showers still out west here this morning. That'll clear up, and then we'll see temps really warm up. I'll show you what to expect coming up.
That would be a long and winding road right there if you're riding with her.
No, I bet we would get a lot of singing done.
I've done no. You know what? You're right. You're probably right. I've had to drive Miss Nicole in several occasions. Southbound I-25 here, it's open. 84th is closed. Northbound I-25 is closed. They have the tanker on the tow truck back on its wheels. I'm hoping in the next half an hour or sooner they'll have northbound I-25 open. We'll see how that goes, but right now it's closed down. We'll take a look at ways to get around it coming up in just a minute.
Well, now that interest rates are even higher, some companies are pushing to make paying with your credit card a little more affordable. The long-standing fees that could be cut by Congress. Plus.
Anchors away, my boys, anchors away, anchors away.
Every branch of the military has their own song. You may know that's the Navy. We're getting a preview of the Space Force's new official anthem.